Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So today is the start of a decimal series. So I'm going to make probably about 4 videos that goes along with everything decimals. So we are going to add and subtract decimals, we're going to multiply decimals, and then we're also going to divide decimals by whole numbers and then divide decimals by decimals. And so this is a lot that goes along with 6th grade content, but this also touches into 5th grade content. So this will help a lot of students. So don't forget that I'm making these videos because we are on social distancing. My school is closed. I think every school is closed around the country. Maybe, I don't know. But I know in the state of Kentucky they are. And my classroom is empty and it's so sad and I miss my students. So y'all are my students now. So I hope this helps parents be able to help their students with their NTI work, and also students to be a refresher, because I did go over this stuff before Christmas. So I just wanted to have a little refresher for them. So I hope you all enjoy this. Remember, if you want access to these documents, you can just email me and I'll link my email in the description box below. Don't forget, if there's a content or a different thing that you're having trouble with, just let me know in the comments below, because I have access to an art teacher, a language arts teacher, a social studies teacher. I can also teach 5 through 9 science. So if there's any topic that you're struggling with, please just let me know in the comments below or message me on Instagram, and I will try to help you all with that. So I hope you all enjoy. Don't forget to hit that red subscribe button so that you don't miss any of these videos, to help you throughout this time. And also remember that I do make a mistake for my students to identify for extra credit somewhere in this video. So I hope that, and any teacher is more than welcome to use that in their classroom if you want. If you can't find the mistake yourself, just message me and I'll let you know. But let's get started. Okay, so we are looking at adding and subtracting decimals. There is my Instagram if you ever want to contact me through that, or follow me for little updates, and then also my YouTube channel. Okay, so here are some little notes and reminders. So when adding and subtracting decimals, the most important thing for this topic, especially when adding and subtracting, and it's really only when you're adding and subtracting, is line up the decimals first. That is the biggest thing that I stress to my students. Make sure you line up those decimals. And then you can also add zeros where needed. So if you have more places in one number than the other, then you can add zeros to make them have the same places. A lot of my students like to do that, so it's less confusing for them. And then you just add and subtract normally. So I'm not going to do a work mat today because I don't really have the manipulatives to go along with this. So we're just going to get started into the examples. Okay, so first we're going to look at adding decimals. And so here we have it horizontal, and I like to line mine up vertically. So just as the note said, make sure that you line those decimals up. So then when I line those up, my ones are in the same spot, my tenths are in the same spot, and my hundredths are in the same spot. Now, I really do like to I like to add mine vertically. And so remember, when you're adding, you start from right to left. So 7 plus 2 is 9. And then 4 plus 2 is 6. You can bring your decimal straight down, and 0 plus 0 is 0. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick that I show my students, because it is, like I said, it's so important to line these decimals up and to keep everything organized. And that's where a lot of my students make mistakes. So I'm going to show you a little trick that I show my students that will be really helpful when you get home, or when you're working at home. Okay, so that trick is to use line paper. And when you use a line paper, instead of writing it like you usually would, you're going to turn it to the side. And then you're going to write your numbers, and each number is going to go into one of these lines. So the blue lines on your paper are going to be separating those numbers. So I'm going to have 3 and 25 hundredths. And notice that I put each thing in the box. Now remember, I am going to line up my decimals. So sometimes I like to put my decimal first and then put the numbers around it. And we are adding. So then here is where I said you can add zeros as needed. With adding, it's not that much different because it's like 5 plus nothing. But a lot of my students like to add that 0 just so that it's kind of like a placeholder and it helps them stay on track. So 5 plus 0 is 5. 6 plus 2 is 8. Bring your decimal straight down. 4 plus 3 is 7. So then your answer would be 7 and 85 hundredths. And I like this strategy because it keeps everything in line. My students that write bigger or are kind of a little messy with their writing, this really helps them stay on track. So I'm going to use this paper for the rest of these pictures, or for the rest of these examples, just to show you how this really helps. Okay, so we have 61 hundredths, and then I'm going to put my decimal. I've got 0 and 329 thousandths, and I am adding. Now a lot of my students like to ask, okay, so this one has a little more numbers than the first one. Is it okay if I switch these around? Is it okay if I put 329 thousandths on top? Now, when it is adding, absolutely, that's fine. With adding and with addition and multiplication, you have those properties. So the commutative property of addition tells you it doesn't matter what order you add it in, you'll still get the same sum. So in this case, absolutely yes, but when it comes to subtraction, it is a huge difference. So I always say just try to stay with the first number will go on top, the second number will go on the bottom, but if they want to switch it, they can. So I'm going to add a 0 as a placeholder so that now they have the same amount of digits in the number. So 0 plus 9 is 9, 1 plus 2 is 3, 6 plus 3 is 9. Bring your decimal straight down, and 0 plus 0 is 0. So your answer is 939 thousandths. Okay, this is our last example of adding. So I'm going to line my decimals up. And the great thing about decimals is you can really connect it to a real world because it's a lot like money. If you think of money as decimals, or your decimals as money, it's easier to make a connection with it. So now I've got 7 plus 8, which is 15, and then so that needs to come up here. And I'm still old school. I'm not very up to date with the elementary vocabulary, so I still say carry the 1. You're adding that 10 up to the next number. So then 8 plus 2 plus 1 is 11. And then you bring your decimal straight down. 7 plus 3 plus 1 is 11. And then 1 plus 1 is 2. So 21 and 15 hundredths. Okay, so we have 2 on this page. Now we are subtracting, and remember I said that it is so important that the first number you see is the number you put on top, because it does matter with subtraction. Because when you get into 7th and 8th grade, you start going into those negatives. You learn about negatives in 6th grade, but then you start working with them in operations in 7th grade. Oh, whoops, that's supposed to be subtraction. Okay, so now, can I take 2 from 1? No. And notice that I still lined up my decimals, still lined up my numbers. So I'm going to change that to an 11, and now I'm going going to change that to a 4. So I borrowed 10 from this number, and added it to this one. So 11 subtract 2 is 9. Bring your decimal straight down. 4 subtract nothing is 0. Sorry guys, that's not the mistake for the video. So 4 subtract nothing is still 4. 6 subtract 6 is 0. 1 subtract 1 is 0. So your answer is 4, and I'm just going to rewrite that because Miss H messed up. Whoops, sorry. Okay, so now let's subtract this last one. Okay, so notice we have more digits on top than we do on bottom. In this case, you can add that 0 here. You can also add a 0 here, but it's not really necessary, but it still just doesn't change the number, so that's okay. All right, 2 subtract 0 is 2. You cannot take 3 from 1. So that would be 11, make that a 6. 11 subtract 3 is 8. 6 subtract 0 is 6. Bring the decimal straight down. 2 subtract 1 is 1, and 1 subtract nothing is 1. So 11 and 682 thousandths. Okay, so y'all know I love to show a little word problem here and there. So let's look at this one. Matthew throws a discus 58 7/100 meters. Zachary throws the discus 56 12/100 meters. How much farther did Matthew throw the discus? So here is that key word there, how much farther. So you're wanting to know the difference between them, and difference is the operation or the word for subtraction. So that is the answer to the solution. That was what I was wanting to say, the answer to the solution of a subtraction problem. So in this case, you need to look and see which one's larger, because we're not wanting to go into the negatives just yet. And we're going to line up those decimals. Okay, so I do have more digits on the bottom. So in this case, you really do need to add that extra 0. And now I'm going to say 0 subtract 2 is 2. 7 subtract 1 is 6. Bring your decimal straight down. 8 subtract 6 is 2. And 5 subtract 5 is 0. And that is supposed to be subtraction, not addition. Sorry, guys. But that is the last example. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that really helped you. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything else that I can help you with, any other topic. Just get excited because the next one is multiplying decimals. So I hope that you all tune in for that one. So bye, y'all.